objections that he has handled or overcome with some scripts, and also interjected a couple of things in regards to the whole COVID-19 and all that fun stuff as well. So this is going to be extremely interactive, and I would love you guys to chime in. So the first thing that ever comes to your guys' head, please unmute yourself and start communicating with me. There's a lot of verbiage in here that I'm going to have Tommy read. I'm just kidding, Tommy, because he's seen this presentation. It's a lot. So we'll kind of go, you know, a little over this stuff, and then you guys can kind of chime in and see what you guys have seen in the future. So the question is, to script or not to script? So it's not about selling. It's about creating value for your audience. So in a world of social distancing and presentations becoming done by phone and online, you must be able to overcome the objections. Even though that you're not face-to-face with that person, they still need to feel comfortable with you. And the more that you can learn and overcome the objections and handle them at your own speed and match, you know, mirror and match the way that they talk, the better you'll be able to get overcome their objections and have a listing right at the table. So we'll kind of go over a few of them, and if you have any questions, we can go from there. So question number one is, how many of you use scripts, have used scripts, or have practiced with people to do script training and stuff? Show or raise a hand. I think you can do that with this program, can't you? I don't know. Tommy, chime in when I help a sister out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Who uses scripts currently, or who needs scripts to use?
yeah, okay. So the majority of my experiences, not a lot of agents have used scripts. It's hard from my past experience for me to take a script and try to make it my own without me wanting to rewrite it to something that I feel more comfortable with. To Mike Ferry and me, when it comes to scripting, is I feel like he's very bold, and I'm more of a person of nature. Like, I want to nurture someone, and I want to like nurture them to get the listing more so than battle them and overcome their objections and be more of a business person, so to speak, to get the listing. So I have a type of personality where I have to remind myself that this is a business and this is not going in to get a new friendship. So sometimes, you know, I have to overcome that. And so having these objection handlers there for you to you know, get them off the top of your head saying, oh, I need to say this right at this point, versus, okay, let's try to make a friend and then get them to sign in. So that's why what I love about these scripts is it kind of keeps you on point and business minded, because that's really what you're there for. How many of you guys circle per prospect for cold calls, like cold calling, circle prospect in area? Fred, I know you're someone that has done that, and we've talked a lot about that, and you've been very successful with that. So I would love for you to chime in, maybe down the road or whatever, on your experiences and kind of what you've seen in recently, if you have. So you scheduled the listing presentation, they have objections. How are you going to overcome them? You didn't come this far, only come this far. So we've got to overcome them. So Mike Ferry's objective, from the moment that Mike Ferry is on the phone with the customer, he's quickly asking calculative questions to book the appointment, find their motivation, and overcome their objections. To master the art of answering questions before they are asked will truly build a trust with the customer you want to list with that same day of presentation. So the more that you can overcome before they ask those questions, the better off you'll have that listing presentation, that listing signed before you walk out that door. So if I list my home with you and I buy my next home from you, will you cut your commission? So how many agents have heard that? How many people have just said, will you cut your commission? Probably everyone. Every single agent.
Gustavo's raising his hand.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We work so hard that practically sometimes we end up making money at a minimum wage or less because of the amount of effort that we put into we put into going after the listing, taking the listing, marketing it, negotiating it, and then going through the buying process. There's a lot of time involved that they don't understand. So will you cut your commission? The question is no. I don't want to cut my commission. So how do you overcome that objection? I will ask you guys, leave it on the table before I pull up Mike Ferry's script. Anybody got an objection handler?
Well, if I cut my commission for you, then I wouldn't be a very good negotiator. So I wouldn't probably get a very good deal for you either, on the other hand, with something like that.
Yep. So that is the perfect example of Mike Ferry's script. So Mike Ferry's script, it says, I can appreciate that, and I want to be upfront with you and say no. I will not cut my commission, and for one simple reason. As a professional, my time has a certain value, and I only work with people like you that realize the value of my service. Before you say anything, think about this. If an agent is willing to cut his or her commission, just like that, how well do you think they would hold up when it comes to negotiating the best possible price for your home? I want to demonstrate up front, how tough am I going to be for you? Therefore, cutting my commission is not an option. Does that make sense? That is a very powerful statement. The script says no with a reasonable explanation to make sense to that seller. The first thing that they want to know is that you're going to be an excellent negotiator. Without being an excellent negotiator, it'd be very hard for you to sell a property for top dollar. So this has the upfront no with an explanation. When you become a listing agent, you have to be a storyteller. You have to have a story for everything. So whatever it is, there's a story for something. The more stories that you can give somebody that are on point, not, just here's my story and it leads to nothing. But you have to have a point to your story. When you have that point, it starts to make sense in people's mindset about what they're trying to accomplish. So that's Mike Ferry's script when it comes to saying no. By having a value proposition, a detailed marketing plan, or even a 3-tiered commission structure, you can usually overcome this question by moving forward. However, do you have some stubborn you will have some stubborn apples that won't budge until you either walk away or reduce your commission. So how many people have a 3-tiered commission structure? How many people have ever considered having a 3-tiered commission structure? What is a 3-tiered commission structure?
That's what I'm thinking. What is it?
What's that?
I don't know what a 3-tiered commission structure is.
So a 3-tiered commission structure is, I'm going to list it at 4% for you, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I will do it at 5% for you, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, plus I'm going to add a bonus of staging, or doing a aerial photography tours, or anything additional that is going to cost money. And at 6%, you will do X, Y, and Z, and you'll do the photography, and you will add in some drone or something like that. So it shows them, this is what the base point will be. I'm willing to reduce it, but I'm going to do it I'm going to do less work for you than what I would do at 6%. Most people always want to go with the 6% or more. I've seen agents where they put in 7 or 8% and get it because their marketing plan is phenomenal. So you could do it that way, which says, I would be willing to reduce my commission, but this is what you get for it. So the better off your marketing plan is and your listing presentation, the better off you'll be able to object this reduction in commission. So any questions in regards to this one?
Yeah, does anybody have any other way they go about handling this kind of objection, or any other way you go about speaking to your sellers to overcome this?
Hello. Yes. You there?
Yeah. Hi, Fred. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I try and tell them, I need to come and see your home and discuss that with you in person, and then get into the house and see the condition of the house and then give them the options when I'm there.
Perfect. So that also ties in, do you do a pre-listing package? Do you do a listing package, a pre-listing and a listing presentation, I'm sorry. And then, you know, going and seeing the home, previewing it, and then you can go and actually do the presentation. So there's many different ways of actually getting into that home, you know, viewing it and going forward. Fred, thank you for piping in. I appreciate it big time. All right, let's move on to the next one. Oops, hold on. Make this on here. I have seen this marketing plan from many different agents. What makes yours different? Has anybody said anything to you in regards to the same marketing plan, the same thing? Oh, you guys all do the same thing. Anybody hear that?
I would imagine this one comes up a lot.
Yeah, it does. So a marketing plan, a listing presentation and a marketing plan are two different things. So when you have a listing presentation, your listing presentation is mostly your comparative market analysis, what you'll do for them. Your marketing plan is your social media marketing plan. You're going out there and doing flyers, open houses, any type of marketing that you're going to do for that home. The marketing plan is kind of like your sacred, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the thing. You as a real estate agent will do the exact same thing that I will do as a real estate agent. I can go online and find a million things that I could do and put it in a listing presentation, and you could go online and find a million of the exact same things and put it in your presentation. And I will make mine look different and you'll make yours look different, but the content is all the same. The reality of it is that your marketing plan, of all the things that you're going to do, you might be more proactive and actually do those million things versus me not wanting to do those million things. That is one thing. But you want to be able to show agents what makes you different over than what that marketing plan actually is. So to overcome that, Mike Ferry, I love his script. He changes. He does what he calls a level shift. He says, you know what? You're right. There are only a certain number of things an agent can do to get a home sold. And I think the final decision is not based on what I do differently. I think the real issue is how you feel about the agent representing you. So tell me, what qualities are you looking for in an agent? Shift it to what the marketing that they're going to do to what they actually really want you to do. Who are you and what can you do for them? The difference between another agent and you is not only your personality, how well you present, how you communicate with them, and just being friendly one-on-one with them and really reflecting what you do as an agent and as their confidant, basically, to get that home sold. You got to reel with them. You got to level with them. So change it from what they do in the marketing, because everybody can do the exact same thing, and just fluff it up differently. Show them who you really are. So this script shifts you from what you do differently to going over the qualities they truly want in an agent. Let's face it, like I said, everybody can do the exact same thing. The question really is can you work with this seller or not? What they're giving, the information that they're giving you right now when they're asking all these questions what the marketing plan is, if you start going over that marketing plan and it's not enough for them, you're starting to gauge whether you can work with them or not. Are they too much to work with? Are they going to be the pain in your backside at night because they just want over and above of something that's so unrealistic of a real estate agent in today's market? These are the things that they're not only interviewing you're interviewing them. And this is a great way to figure out whether you can work with them or not before you even take that listing that you as an agent are locked into. So question, when do you show your marketing plan and do you leave a copy with them? Anybody want to answer that? Tad, I see you're on here. Help a sister out. I can't hear you, bud. Can we unmute him? I can't unmute.
He should be able to unmute himself if he wants to chime in. Michelle, real quick on that last one, I just thought of something that could possibly relate, and not exactly to what that was going off of, but maybe for some newer agents or agents that are looking to go after listings, if they don't have as much experience and somebody's asking them, oh, I see, you know, you don't have as much experience, what can agents say in order to win a listing in that situation? And if any other agents have come across that, and maybe you guys can share what you've come across as well.
This is a great question. One of the things, if you're a newer real estate agent, come and meet with Jonathan, Tommy, or myself and get on a Zoom call to figure out, you know, what we can do for you. You can market anything in regards to what Lokation has done. So you could say, well, Lokation in a whole has listed 10 properties in this area in the last, you know, week, and we have sold, my team has done that. You know, Lokation, we're all a team, we're all in this together. So whether you're on that person's team or not, you can still use those statistics that we have saying that, okay, well, you know, Lokation sold this home in this area at 98% of the list price or 105% of the list price, whatever the number is, you can use these statistics to show that. So definitely work with us because we can help you present yourself as a team more so than as a single person that's just getting started. You definitely want to talk about your background and education if you have any that's that you've got maybe a bachelor's degree in something that you can associate with some type of business mind as well that you could put in there too. So, but yeah, we can definitely work with you in regards to that.
Michelle, this is Tad. You'd asked about, sorry, I just unmuted myself. In terms of marketing plan, a lot of what I do is I bring a binder with previous sales, and I kind of show them like, these are the homes that I've sold that are similar to yours. This was my experience. And that kind of leads credibility. They kind of see me as, that's like my resume, basically, I'm laying out for them. And I let them review it. It's in a binder and they're looking at it while I'm talking. And I found that that does help. It's almost like you have your resume right in front of them.
It's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I've seen agents where I've been on their team where they've had a binder, 2, 3 binders full of the properties that they have sold, just exactly like that. Stack them right down on a coffee table and says, you obviously can see that I can sell.
Right.
So that is probably one of the best ways of going about it if you have a book of business that you've had in the past. If you have not had a book of business in the past, then you definitely want to go into what Lokation has done, the experiences that we've had as a whole, and go from there. So, Tad, thank you for sharing.
Yep.
I did see that, Kevin, you had your hand raised for a minute. Did you have something to say?
She covered it. What I was going to say is that we have to not focus on selling homes. Everybody can sell homes. We have to focus on selling ourselves. We want to separate ourselves from other agents. We have to be personable. We have to let the seller know that we're going to work as hard as possible. And as you mentioned, having a team. If you're inexperienced, say, hey, I have a team of agents that we can partner with, I partner with, or, you know, don't just look at selling your home, sell yourself. And if you need to take an experienced agent, like Tad says, he has some top quality suggestions. If he's available, take him with you. Go out there, see how he does, or go on a listing appointment with him. You try to make yourself more available to understand what the market is doing. And if you have a ton of paperwork in front of people nowadays, it's exhausting because 5 realtors before them, realtors before them just gave them a ton of paperwork with stacks of listings. Go in, show how you can move the property with your personality and also with compassion. We got to have compassion for these sellers now because we don't know.
Kevin,
Absolutely.
100% right.
And as Michelle touched on, and Kevin, you did as well, don't be afraid to lean on Lokation as a whole and your team that you have, or, you know, even if you don't have a team, feel free to lean on location and what everybody else has done in order to win that listing as well.
Yep. So the question is, when do you show your marketing plan and do you leave a copy with them? So Mike Ferry actually does not show the marketing plan until after he goes through the comparative market analysis and figures out what their motivation is. If they're willing to list with them, knowing what that price is, then they go into more of the listing present or the marketing plan and everything after the fact. He doesn't see that the motivation is there to want to sell. He actually doesn't show the marketing plan at all. So that's kind of like the last puzzle piece for him. Not a lot of people actually do that. The first thing that they want to go in and they want to show all the fluff pieces. They want to show that marketing plan and they want to kind of butter them up a little bit before they show them what that price is and hits them with a number that they're going to freak out about. So how do you guys actually do it? What is your strategy of walking in there? You know, you go and take a look at the home first, and then do you sit down and show them the CMA first, or do you do your marketing plan first?
Go ahead, Kevin.
A good rule of thumb is go in and connect with the seller. Ask them, can you see the house? Let me view your property before we talk about any paperwork or marketing plan. You know, compliment them on what you see, on what looks nice, what they would change about the house, and then just try to get some information as to their motivation, why they're selling, where they're moving to. You know, talk about the family, compliment on some pictures you might see in the house. Because if you go in as a business person, that's what every other realtor is just does. Go in and connect, making sure, do you need anything? Are your family safe? Do you have anybody out of town? And this is what will separate you, because now you put the seller at ease. You brought them from a 10 to a 5. You say, oh, I can connect with Tad. I can connect with Freddie. So now you understand, you're understanding them, and then you may not need as much marketing material. You may ask you a few questions, but make sure you ask questions. Find out what their seed of motivation is. You can move forward with it.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. All right, so the next one is, I need to net this amount in order to move. I have to be at my new job in 90 days, but I can't afford to buy a new home if I take a loss. Have you guys heard this recently?
Yes.
And what was your objection handler for that?
I'm not sure if this is the right answer, but I'm in a listing right now. I said the only way I can do what you want to be done is if I handle both sides of the transaction, and I could reduce the commissions as needed. And I got lucky. It happened. I got both sides of the transaction. I was able to meet his goal, and so far all parties are happy. We should be closing in about 10 days. So.
Nice. That's awesome.
Not saying that lowering the commission is ever really a great solution, but in order to make the numbers work, his numbers were definitely stretching it. And luckily I was able to meet that, but that was the only way I have it. Any other ideas?
And sometimes it is, you know, sometimes it is, but in this case, when, you know, if they want to overlist a price or, you know, their home and they can't get it done, sometimes it's very difficult to meet a number, and you want to keep that relationship going with them, because you know they'll probably provide you another buyer, another seller. They'll refer you somebody else in the meantime. Tad, I know a lot of your business is by referral as well, because you do have a lot of connections with people, and that's fantastic. But sometimes when you don't necessarily know, and they're getting ready to move away, and you haven't built that relationship with them, and you're about ready to get a listing, it's hard to comfort them, to get them to list with you. But here's what Mike Ferry says, and then we'll go from there. So, I can appreciate the position that you are in. Many people in our area are in the same position. You know, I'm curious. Has there ever been a time when you knew you were going to have to make a sacrifice? I mean, you knew it was going to be tough. And in the end, after realizing all your options, you realized that there was only one thing to do. Put your head down, read it, grit your teeth and go for it. But you found that in the end, it all worked out. You made it through the tough times and life went on, maybe even better than before. Have you ever been there before? Just like this, it's just like that time. As you can see, the competitive market analysis shows that there are no way anyone can go to give you what you need to make this move. My question is this: is the time important to get out from underneath this house, take the new job, and work through the tough times, or are you going to position to keep making mortgage payments on this house for a couple of years until property values go up? So sometimes you have to try to have them visualize a story, realize the outcome was good, and try to give them perceptions, kind of like a pain versus pleasure type of a situation. If this is your pain, you've had pleasure before, let's go back to the reality, and here's a little bit more pain. You don't want to pay those mortgage payments for quite some time. So in this script, he's telling a story without really telling a story, and he is he's trying to get them trying to find out where their motivation really is. Again, if there's no motivation there and the guy's just like, well, I need to get this number, then it might not be the right time to take that listing. But like in Tad's instance, he made it work because, you know, he did a commission structure, and somehow from a miracle, he ended up finding the buyer as well. So that doesn't always happen, but it does, as you can see.
Hey, Michelle, can I elaborate on that? And to
Sure.
this point, I think that Mike Ferry's making is ultimately there's such a fixation on how are you going to win big for me right now, and less of, well, am I ignoring my opportunities versus am I so fixated on what I'm going to squeeze out of this sell and less concerned with the opportunities. In that particular case, I asked a lot of questions beforehand as, once you sell this, then what? And the what was, well, we're going to buy a small yacht and we're going to live on the yacht. So when we really started talking about the prices that were affixed to their dream, the more focused and fixated they became on the realization of their dream and why they were selling their house. It became less and less of an issue as if they were going to take, a $5,000 hit or a $10,000 hit, because the ultimate end goal was being realized. And so that's what I think whenever I go into my listing appointments, I always want to find out, where are you at and where are you going? Because once you understand the big picture, it's easier to help connect a win.
100%. That was beautifully said. You have to be the positive for them. You have to pull out what their wants and needs and desires are for the future, because sometimes they can only see what's they get so clouded with their thinking and they only see what's in front of them. I need to get $10,000 more than what you want me to get out of it. But yet they don't see what the outcome of the future is going to be, because this house is kind of like a burden to them at the very moment. So like what Tad was saying, he was using the method of asking a lot of questions, building that relationship with them, seeing, getting to know them and seeing what they can do to get those dreams to happen. I mean, buying a yacht, that's a pretty cool thing. So, and also possibly sharing a story with them about, the times that you recently went through with having to do the whole negative and it turned out positive type of thing. The more stories that you can tell them for, showing that you are a realist and that you are a real person and you have those experiences as well, can be a beautiful thing. It's just meeting of the minds, and if like Tad said, the more questions that you ask, the more comfortable that they'll feel with you, and most likely won't want to interview another agent as well, because they're going to be one-on-one with you. So, and that's what Tad did. He went in there and got her done. Good job. So. And I like what Tony Robbins says: setting goals in the first step is turning the invisible to the visible. Sometimes the invisible dream that they have, you're turning it into the reality of actually not being a dream anymore. So kind of cool. I like that. So
Kevin, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, just in addition, I know what we're going over. Tony Robbins is a great guy. He's written a lot of books and made a lot of people successful, but We have to have the mindset of what we're dealing with here and now. This virus has really changed people's minds as to what's happening. We have to be the calming factor. And if we go in sounding scripted, we're going to lose them right away because they're going to feel like we're in for a business. We got to go in from the heart and put yourself in their position. And I don't know I'm sorry, I missed the first part of it, but I know if we're talking about reducing commission, we have to think about long term. It's not about commission, it's about building relationships. Because if you go in and say, hey, I can work as hard for you for 6%, or if I would for 5%, but however, other agents may not work as hard for a lesser percentage. And that's something we have to bring into play. If I do it for 5%, other agents may not work this hard for 5%. Or if I do it for X amount of percentage, can we look at in the future, if you're not getting the proper foot traffic you're looking for, can we look at raising the percentage at some point? So give them some options. I understand you saying no, but if you say no, I think you're kind of cutting yourself short because you've given them a negative attitude to begin with. I know all of our time is important, but also got to build relationships, guys, because we're looking at this. We're long-term business people. We're not transaction to transaction. We're relationship to relationship.
I agree, Kevin. It's probably one of the reasons why I've never used scripts. I go in there and just be real with someone. But there's a lot of people that like to have the idea of something in the back of their mind, especially a new agent that has not gone out there and experienced something that to be able to go in and get a listing out of. So having these scripts as a back of the mind, you can manipulate them, change them, make them however you feel, but as long as you study something to be able to help you have something on the back of your mind so you don't look like deer in the headlights in the middle of a listing presentation, it helps you to grow into something. But yeah, so some people are very big into these Mike Ferry scripts. I do know a lot of agents that actually use these scripts verbatim and are extremely successful today. However, I mean, I'm not one of them. I never have been one of them to be able to go out there. But it's each their own. Everybody has their own business. And like you said, Kevin, it's all about building relationships today and being real with people. And like you also said, this whole COVID thing now is it's something that we're all learning on how to adapt to. So that's why we're having these classes. That your guys' opinions and experiences and sharing it's huge. So it's very good to be able to get on these calls and listen to people like yourself, Kevin and Tad, to help yourself grow. All right, so what does everybody think about open houses for their business? Yay or nay? Do you put them in your business plan or do you not? Tad loves them. All right, so Mike Ferry does not love them. Mike Ferry doesn't like them at all. He doesn't even put them in his listing presentations. So I'm going to show you the script. I don't believe in this. I think open houses are fabulous. But he says he's a firm. Oops, let me get out of this. He talks about passive and market aggressive. I'm not going to go into the script or anything like that, but he talks about passive marketing as, with your fingers crossed and holding open houses and sending out flyers and advertising in the newspaper as a passive way of marketing houses. And then he talks about active marketing, doing a lot of cold calling, circle prospecting, and trying to get the people that he's on the phone with in the door to see your home. I'm only bringing this one up because I really like to hear what you guys are doing today in regards to open houses. Are you hosting a lot more, and are you seeing a lot more people coming in, or vice versa?
Michelle, this is Tad again. I'm currently not doing open houses right now, but that's really only just because of the whole COVID thing. I'm really excited about resuming them. Well, I will admit that I guess you could call them passive marketing because I can't always link a sale of that specific house to an open house. I can tell you I've probably done at least $3 million worth of business that I've traced back to open houses or open houses where I knocked up and down in that immediate neighborhood and said, hey, I'm having an open house, why don't you come over? It either resulted in another listing or it resulted in finding a buyer that I ended up, taking somewhere else. I did get really lucky once and have an open house where I found a buyer for that specific home, but I think that's very rare. But I love open houses just because it helps get me in front of so many other potential buyers and sellers.
The reality of it is, I think the statistic is that from selling a home from an open house, I think it's 1%. You guys can correct me if the number is different now, but the last time I saw the statistic was only 1% of the homes from an open house actually sell. Whether that's true or not, or statistical where we can actually, use that information for our own personal experiences, I don't know. Personally, do I love doing open houses? Not a big fan of them. I don't like going and put the signs out there and doing all that, stuff. But they do work. They get you out there to get you to know your community that you're farming. They get you to know the customers out there, or the owners in the area. I'm sorry. They do a lot of other really great things for you. They put you in touch with people that are looking to purchase a home, and if you can connect with them right then and there at that house, then you could probably most likely be their agent to actually purchase maybe a different house. So open houses are a win-win for the business opportunity that it can provide you, but not necessarily a win-win for selling that actually particular house because of an open house. So I'm a believer in doing them if you want to grow your business, or maybe farm an area and grow that, grow your name in that area. So yeah. So if you're active circle prospecting, cold calling FISBOs, expires, this is a great, explanation so you don't have to hold an open house. So, I mean, it's up to you on how you want to do it or not. Does anybody have any input in that other than? No? We will move on. We can always come down in price later. So there's a lot of people that want to overlist the price and see what happens. What is the percentage of, what is the percentage over 5%, 10% that you are willing to overprice a listing before you walk away? Have you guys ever taken that into consideration and said, if it's 5% over, I'm not taking it. It's not worth my time. I know I'm going to put a lot of money and marketing efforts into this home. I'm going to walk away. Anybody ever done that?
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
I think it all depends on the situation. Some sellers are different than others. So if you have motivation to sell your home, and I believe you're really going to reduce it, and you think that you saw one down the road that looked, because they always seen one down the road that sold for substantially higher, even though, either we can find it and that's unrealistic in that situation. But I will sometimes let them overprice it. If I see that they have the motivation, they will lower it later. But, but you have to understand, is this guy really going to be realistic, or is he going to waste our time?
100%. It's all about that motivation. If you can feel that motivation is there, but they have that curiosity too, that I might be able to get this number out of it, then, it's at your discretion to take it. Mike Ferry's way of scripting this is interesting. So I'll read this out to you. You're right. I think you need to take into account how homes get sold. You see, if we come out of the chute with your home overpriced, all of the agents that show properties will instantly write you off as a non-motivated seller. Can I explain what that means from an agent's perspective? The higher a price is on a property, the less a seller needs to sell it. At least that's what the agents believe, purely from past experience. Now, a non-motivated seller means that even if you come down in price later, two things will happen. Most agents won't even realize how your home has been reduced. Now, you might say, can't we just send them a flyer telling them it's been reduced? Yes, we can send everyone a flyer telling them that the price has been reduced, but agents get 500 flyers a week, and there's a good chance it will get unnoticed. If you see that you've had a home priced real high in the beginning and that that will tell them that you're kind of unrealistic when we listed the property, meaning that you didn't believe that was what I was saying was true. Sorry. All agents interpret this as trouble when it comes to getting the deal closed. Do you understand why? If we price to sell right from the beginning, our odds of getting agents to show are much higher. All agents interpret this as trouble when it comes to getting a deal closed. My question to you is, how do you interpret an overpriced listing? Well, obviously, CMA will, interpret, where you think that home will sell. But, at what point? I love this word. What do you think that all agents interpret this as trouble when it comes to getting the deal closed? Do you actually believe that all agents actually think that? Do you think that? That kind of made me really think about it. Like when you overprice a listing, and when you, as the consumer or as another agent, look at it, do you interpret it as trouble when it comes to getting the deal closed? Kevin says yes. Let's let the market speak to the seller. Great point. Gustavo says nope. So it's interesting. See, the mindset of everybody is completely different on how they think about an overpriced and how they'll go in and actually try to negotiate that seller down. The mindset and perception of a buyer when they see something that is unaffordable to them or not within their price range or overpriced of what Zillow tells them it's at, it's automatically not to put an offer in my experience. It takes a lot of persuasion from a buyer's agent to get somebody to make an offer in that is much lower than a listing price. So the interpretation of the property being trouble when it gets to home close, I don't necessarily believe that. I mean, getting a deal closed is one thing. Negotiating it to what it's worth is a whole nother ballgame. So I just thought it would be kind of interesting to see where you guys' perception was in regards to that. So. I thought Ted was going to say something. So, we want to think it over. Do you guys probably hear that every listing presentation you walk into? Well, we want to think it over. I mean, it's like the kickback reaction from a seller. I'm not ready to sign from you. I'm telling you, I want to think it over. When somebody says that, it either means that you have not answered all their questions. They are not necessarily really motivated to sell at the moment. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. Or, so not ready to sell, not motivated enough. The price that you've told them is probably much lower than what they've expected. Or maybe it doesn't show up to what Zillow is. Zillow's a big thing with them. They see that number that's on there and they take that like it's gold and they run from that. I have a seller who's a friend of mine. She keeps telling me about Zillow and I keep saying that's not a comparative market analysis. They're not using the right numbers. Unfortunately for her, she's about $40,000 underpriced on Zillow. So trying to get her to, she's trying to figure out why they're underpricing it when we're overpriced. My appraisers overpriced it, or vice versa. The appraisers come up $40,000 more than Zillow shows. So we want to think it over. We'll go into this. What are some of the things that you've heard on why they want to think it over? Well, his script says, I can appreciate that. Making a logical decision is important. So tell me, what is it specifically that you're going to think over? A lot of it's price, wanting to speak to another realtor, not confident in hiring you, commission, or just plain old timing. Those are your objection handles that you need to come over. So when we say we want to think it over, that comes with a whole ballgame of objection handlers that you have to think of, that you have to learn to overcome, script out, memorize. So when somebody says something, you know right off the bat, okay, they're going after price, I've got to say this. They're going after, you're feeling that they're not confident in hiring you, you're probably going to have to come up with a little bit more information. Gustavo, all this means we did not do our job. You're 100% right. So it just means that your listing presentation is not tight enough to be able to have them sign that paper before you walk out that door. By overcoming these objections within your listing presentation and your marketing plan, you should 100% of that time be able to walk out with that listing as long as you have built that rapport with them. Like Kevin said, it's very important. We want to compare what you are saying to other realtors. I'm sure you guys have probably heard this 1,000 times too. So this is great. I think this is one of the best things that you could do. And before I go, tell me, what is it specifically that is stopping you from picking up that pen and signing your home with me? Again, it most likely will lead down to price. Hey, I understand, and let me ask you this. If I can help you realize that your home will sell for $1 more than what I've told you, if I felt completely satisfied that it was true, would you still want to waste your valuable time talking to another realtor, or would you just list with me tonight? It's a very bold, to the point script, in my opinion, that if you can take those words and script them to make it sound like you are actually being genuine, good job, because that's not exactly the easiest one to turn around and make it look like you are you're really being genuine. I mean, it's difficult. So, but go back to the CMA and convince them, is what he's saying to do. Most cases, if they want to speak to another real estate agent, it's about price of the home. Question, have you ever scheduled a few homes to look at during the listing presentation so that they can see their competition? Has anybody done that? Fred's shaking his head, he has, I see you. If you know going in that you've got maybe more so of a difficult seller that's really, really on point with a price that they want, schedule a couple homes in the area that are for sale and take them to it during the listing presentation. Take them on a little trip to see, see what their competition is. Just showing what their comparable sales are is one thing. Showing them what the competition is a whole nother ball game. People are going out there and purchasing the homes that are active on the market. They're not purchasing the ones that are actually sold. So they're comparing the price, but they're not comparing the condition. So if you take them and show them the price and then also the condition of the homes that are their competitors, it brings a more of a realistic thought in their mind. Okay, well, this home sold at $675,000, but I see that my competition has granite and they're asking, X amount of dollars. It puts a little bit more realism into them. So maybe at the end of the presentation, they might be a little bit more realistic to want to price it the way you want it. It's just a thought. I have seen people do it, and I have seen people not do it. So Fred shakes his head. Has anybody else done that before?
Well, I found that when people try and compare pricing of another house, I go to RPR and say, let's look at their house and the pluses and minuses and try to bring them back down to reality of their house versus somebody else's, especially if they have a pool or a refinished kitchen, bathroom, and explain to them that's why theirs is going to sell at a higher price.
Sometimes physically seeing that property instead of a picture tells 1,000 words. A picture, they say a picture tells 1,000 words. Actually, physically seeing that home shows them the nooks and the crannies and everything that they don't actually get to necessarily see in that photo. So their finishings might be a little bit more pristine than theirs, or crappier than theirs, for lack of a better term at the moment. You just have to paint a big picture for them. Kevin says pricing, that's where their feedback from other agents becomes important. Show the seller what potential buyers who have seen the house are saying about the price. Absolutely. Feedback is a huge thing, and that's something a lot of buyers agents are not really good at providing. Going through Show Assist, it reminds you to send feedback. It's a big thing for, if you're a buyer's agent, to provide that feedback to that customer. And maybe being a little bit more detailed than buyer didn't like the home, buyer made another offer on a home. Give them their real feedback, like kitchen's outdated, or you know, bathrooms from 1909, you know, say something that's the real negative about that home so that seller can make that decision. Do I upgrade this? Do I not upgrade this? Do I do a price adjustment for it? It gives the listing agent a huge leg to stand on with that feedback. So yeah, Kevin, you're absolutely right. Move along. Why should we choose you? I'm going to leave this one up to you, and so does Mike Ferry. He doesn't give you what your value proposition is, and I can't give you what your value proposition is. I can only give you suggestions. So what is your value proposition? What do you do differently than other agents do? That's going to be your big ticket item, other than your personality and getting to know them and asking the right questions. You know, you have to have that value proposition. You know, these are just a couple things I thought off the top of my head last night at 10 o'clock. So record, you know, record time in selling a home fast, market share in the area, 100 things I do to get a home sold. Some of these, you know, you can elaborate. There's so many other things in here that you can put in as a value proposition. Home sold guarantee. You see Craig Proctor doing that. I mean, you see a lot of agents taking that and doing something like that. There's a lot of different ways that you can go out there and show value. So you definitely want to put that together. Maybe that's something we can do a Zoom meeting on as value proposition. We will list after COVID-19 is over. Does anybody know when COVID-19 is going to be over? I'd love to know. So I can appreciate your concern. Tell me, what is making you want to wait? It all leads to price. Do they not want to show their home? Are they worried the market's going to tank? Sonia says she's ready for it. I'm ready for it too. So, you know, just let them talk. Once they share their concern with you, then you can overcome their objection. Even because it's about COVID-19, all the objections, they all lead to pretty much the same objections over and over again. What is the price of my home going to be? The in-person showings, you know, you can talk to them about following the CDC guidelines. Go out there and build yourself a kit of gloves, masks, sanitizers, booties, and, you know, put them in there individually. So when you hand them to them, they're all in a pre-package of something that you can hand to them, to the sellers, or have a little basket of that at the front door of their home so that you can give them to the buyers to hand out so they can put them on right away. These are things that you can do to show the seller that you go over and above because you actually care about the concern of their home. You could talk about that you spend 30 minutes after they leave making sure that they don't touch anything, and if they did, that you go over and sanitize it for them. So if they're touching door handles, you go and spray the door handles after they leave. If they've touched sinks or anything like that, you're sanitizing down the sinks. So you can put a flyer together, a brochure, or a piece of it that's talking all about CDC guidelines and what you're doing for the COVID. Has anybody done that? Has anybody put a package like that together yet? If you have, great. If you haven't, Jenny says she's working on it. Awesome. So as for the market dropping, Kevin says yes. So great seeing the Lokation family. I have another Zoom meeting. Awesome. Well, we love having you, Kevin. Please jump on all the Tuesday ones. Your input is very valuable.
Thank you, guys. See you later. You're welcome.
So show them statistics, forecasts, the facts that we have a strong economy and prices, you know, the prices haven't dropped. But be honest and show them accurate statistics. I know an area that has dropped 5% from what it was when a property was listed. If it has, let them know about it. If it hasn't, then, you know, talk about the market is still extremely strong. You know, it just really depends on your area. You just want to be 100% real with them, because if you're not, then it just makes it very difficult to work with someone if you do that. I don't want to list my home for sale until I finish working on the home. However, you can start marketing it. This is something that we hear a lot, where there's a lot of people starting to do repairs to the home. They want to paint it. They don't want to put it on the market yet, but you're allowed to start marketing it. It's like, great, I can't get the listing, but you want me to start marketing the property for you. So there's a couple ways to get around this. Number one, the Clear Cooperation Rules 8.0 that came out, it states that the real estate agent, you cannot start marketing a home publicly without the listing being in the MLS within 1 business day. There are 2 ways you can accommodate the seller to do so you can list the property. Number 1, coming soon. Allows you to put the home on the MLS for up to 20 days in the status. The majority of you probably have this now. Some of the MLSs do not in Florida, but I believe the majority of them do. So it allows you to market to all the real estate brokerages out there. However, you'll not be allowed to market it publicly until you put it active. So you're pacifying a customer by taking a listing and putting it on coming soon, so that other 14 days in Colorado. Yeah, it might be 14 days here too. I did hear something about that. I'm pretty sure it's 21 here in Florida. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do want to double check on that, but I think it's 21. Yeah, so you can't market it publicly until you put it in active status, but at least it gives all the brokers a chance to see that listing. Commission agreement. So one of the things that Jonathan and I talked tirelessly about is, how do we get around this? He's on a lot of the committees on the boards and stuff like that, so he can get this information and he brings it out. And him and I, we talk about it tirelessly to see how we can bring it to you guys to get around situations where they're changing all these rules on us. So it'll allow you to take an open listing and not put it in the property in the MLS. So you can take a traditional commission agreement, and in the prospect section, you can put any prospect regardless of initial source. And in the additional remarks, you can put no other relationship will be signed with another brokerage. So actually allow you to go out there and market that property in the interim while they're trying to get it repaired or anything like that. And for you to be able to collect a commission by chance it's ever sold. And it doesn't allow them to go out just from underneath you and go and list that property with another real estate agent. And if they do, the commission agreement will protect you. And so if they do sell it with another property, you will get a commission as well. So this will allow you to mark the property that you don't have an exclusive agreement. The moment that you want to put it in the MLS, you do have to have a listing agreement. So it's going to change from a commission agreement to a listing agreement after to actively put it in the MLS. So those are the 2 ways that if somebody's not quite ready to put that property on the market publicly, to start doing showings, you can use the coming soon, or if they're not quite ready to put it on the market, but you do want to start advertising, you can do a commission agreement. So does anybody have any questions in regards to that before we move on?
No, but I just wanted to add on top of this, if any of you aren't aware of Curbio, one of our partners, that's another way to overcome this kind of type of objection if they're trying to do work before a listing. Curbio is a pre-sale home renovation company that we partner with. You guys can always check out more information on them on the Sphere under the Resources tab. So I just wanted to mention Curbio. It's another good way to win listings and overcome an objection like this.
Absolutely, great point. Overpricing a bad strategy, that's not an objection. Pricing is all about motivation. So to list or not to list, that is my reputation. We've kind of already talked about that, but I talked about pricing strategies and percentages and stuff like that. So you have your fair market value, 5% under, 10% under. It shows you to the right there how many people will start really actively looking at that property when you're within the green limits. If you're overpriced, this is a great image of when you're overpriced by 5%, what the visual of actual people looking at that property is. It's only 30%, or if you list it over 10%, it's about 2%. So this is statistical numbers that you could actually use in your presentation to show the realistic of how many people are going to look at it, and it's going to take longer to sell the property. The higher you list it, the longer it will take to start getting that activity of seeing people. So I just wanted to put that together. Powerful online close. So you got to close up your listing presentation. You want to get it sold. Most of you are probably going to be doing your listing presentations probably online now via Zoom like we're doing today, or maybe starting to plan on doing it. Because now that I've shown you the CMA, the marketing plan, how can I get your home sold in approximately X amount of days, I'm sure you're ready to get started today. I have sent over a contract to your email. Let's go ahead and sign it now so I can walk you through it. So as you're going through the presentation here, you could also have, for simplicity, pull up the whole listing agreement and send them to the email. So when you're done with this presentation, you click go and it goes right to their email the moment that you're done with your presentation. So they can go to their email and sign that listing agreement. So you may not be right there in their face, but at least while you're face to face on the Zoom, you've got that listing presentation prepared to be electronically signed. So yeah, it says online presentations are going to become the norm. Have a listing present filled out and be ready to be e-signed. So what are powerful closes that you've ever used? Have you guys started putting an online presentation together yet, or? Thinking about putting a online listing presentation together? Nothing yet? Well, it's definitely something to think about. Motivation. MikeBerry scripts are designed to book the appointment by phone, qualify the customer by phone, go over the CMA, and handle objections in person. Plan of action, he does not go over the marketing plan first. So because the reason why he doesn't do it is because of the motivation. He's looking for that motivation, and that's what you guys need to look for as well. So that's the end of our presentation today. I did have one more thing, but we are out of time. And do you guys have any last questions or anything for me or Tommy? No? Tommy, you got anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day and go out there and make it a great one.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Everybody have a good day. We'll see you back here again next Tuesday.
Bye.